The cardiovascular system gets a lot of attention in the wellness industry, and it should. Let's take a closer look. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Minke. This is Minke Wellness. And as we look at the cardiovascular system this month, I like to think of it as, okay, what is the purpose? What is the whole point of the cardiovascular system? And the whole point of it is to pump fluid, blood, to the tissues, okay? And there's obviously some fluid coming back from the tissues, so we're really dealing with circulation. Now, we dealt with that back on our second month of our whole a whole year-long wellness program, and that was dealing with the blood and lymph, actually what's the content, okay? But this time we're just looking at the actual structures that deliver this, and that's going to be the cardio, the heart, and the vascular, the vessels, okay? So we've got two types of vessels. We've got the arteries that deliver from the heart out to the tissue, and the veins that deliver from the tissue back to the heart and pumping that system. So here's our little diagram. Here's the heart, right? So we got heart, and we're going to talk about this as a muscle and a lot of specialty parts. We've got the valves and the atrial part and the ventricular part, and how the muscles, the heart muscle is a continuous beating muscle. It's not like our skeletal muscle that we would fatigue very quickly if we were just constantly moving. Well, the heart doesn't do that. It can't fatigue. So it's very important that the heart have good good oxygen supply in for itself, right? So we're going to talk about the health of the heart, and surrounding the heart is the pericardial space, and that is housed in the chest. I mean, it's all right here in the chest. So here's this broader picture. The heart sits in the chest, so it occupies a certain amount of volume of the lung space, and there's the structure around that. Okay, so we're going to talk about all that. Look at the structure of the heart and how that all works together and how the heart functions. And then we've got the vascular system here, which is usually the red is shown as arteries and blue is shown as veins, but you can see these are the big ones, right? You got the big veins, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller as it goes down to the more local tissue. But so it's pretty complicated in terms of a network of vessels that go crisscrossing throughout the body. It's not that complicated to understand what it does, okay? We've got to deliver. So it makes sense that these tubes have to be clean and strong, and we'll talk more about that as we go along in the month. So this is kind of we're just talking an overview right now of what are we looking at for the cardiovascular system. Now, what we do in our wellness program here is I apply my wellness strategy to everybody's system that I'm doing, and this wellness strategy would apply to the cardiovascular system. So the wellness strategy: stop poisoning the cardiovascular system. What are the things that we need to watch out for and avoid, both in our lifestyle and diet, but what are the things that are going to potentially harm the cardiovascular system? Those we want to clearly stop poisoning the cardiovascular system. The second would be flood the cardiovascular system with nutrients. So the heart needs nutrients, the veins need good nutrients, they need strong connective tissue. The veins have structure, all the vessels have structure, the veins and arteries. They have a lining that is supposed to be flexible and smooth, that's right on the inside as the blood passes through. You don't want that to get damaged, because then that will snag platelets and start a clot, and that's no good. And so we're going to talk about the structure of the veins and the arteries, and it's got smooth muscle and connective tissue. So this is not just a rubber tube that's a random. No, it's got some structure, and there's a lot to it. And and this all relates to blood pressure. When you have the elasticity of that tube starts to diminish, we end up getting increased blood pressure, because the tube is supposed to be flexible, and if it stops it becomes more rigid, then the heart is pumping, and that blood pressure increases in those tubes. We'll talk a lot more about things like blood pressure and the viscosity of the blood. I mean, that makes a big difference. How hard does it have to? Heart has to pump harder if the blood is thick. So that gets back to hydration, how important hydration is. We're going to talk about those things. Then we'll talk about how the blood that's macro circulation, which is the blood that's flowing through the larger tubes, and then we have micro circulation, which is that all the way down at the capillary. And that capillary bed, I don't have a diagram here. That capillary bed is so thin. So imagine this is the tube, and the size of the cell would be the size of the end of my finger. In other words, it's only one cell thick that passes one cell at a time for the red blood cells. Very, very, very small. And so the capillary flow, which is microcirculation, very important. We'll talk about that. The heart as a muscle, like I said, has a lot of parts. We'll talk about how to keep the heart healthy, and this is talking about flood the body with nutrients, flood the heart with nutrients, and make sure we flood the vessels with nutrients. They have certain nutrient requirements, and we need to make sure we have healthy connective tissue. We're going to talk a lot about the effects of inflammation on the cardiovascular system. So it's going to be a full month, and looking forward to getting into all of that. So we've got our two parts is stop poisoning the cardiovascular system, flood the cardiovascular system with nutrients. And our third part of our wellness strategy is to manage our stress. And this is so important in the cardiovascular system. It is really stress. We're going to talk about the connection between stress and a lot of these issues of heart disease and people who are having health problems associated with just from stress, from the mental stress of increasing our stress level, which of course increases our heart rate and increases our blood pressure. And so we need to talk about how to manage our stress. And then there's also the stress that can act upon the cardiovascular system. What are some stressors that the heart has to deal with? And then what are some structural problems that the veins and arteries have? So you can talk about varicose veins and the structural integrity of the veins. We're also going to talk about circulation and how the vascular system, especially the venous system, requires muscle contraction. And we've talked about that before, but we'll cover it again, how those muscle contractions, the skeletal muscle contraction is so important to return that blood back up to the heart. So we've got a full month of talking about the cardiovascular system. And I hope you join me in this month of wellness for the cardiovascular system, the heart and the vessels. And we're going to talk supplementation as well. And you can gain a lot of knowledge about, and we're going to do breathing and some exercises, some structural physical exercises. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff that does not involve supplements, but I think supplements are always, if they're done correctly and we have a good strategy on how to use the supplements, very, very helpful, especially for something like the cardiovascular system. We'll be covering some supplements that I think are excellent to support the cardiovascular system as well. Okay, so we'll take this one day at a time, as wellness is one day at a time. Join me this month as we do our wellness program. YL Wellness 17 is what we're calling it. And we are really on into the 8th month. So if you're going to join us here because this is an exciting topic and you're not familiar with how the system works, you might want to go back and look at month 1, which is the respiratory system, and just get familiar with how I'm working this and recognize that this has been a very strategic wellness program that I have designed to go from month 1 all the way sequentially to this point. Does not mean you can't benefit from totally taking a focus this month without any other participation in my wellness program from the other months. You can just jump right in and do some work on the cardiovascular system. Yes, you can do that. That would be great. And if you're not doing the other stuff that we've come a long way and we've made some changes, those changes are going to be very, very important, especially like partially hydrogenated and hydrogenated vegetable oil. You've got to get rid of those things, get rid of your synthetic fragrances, things that are going to be irritating to the system. We've done a lot of work on our lifestyle, and we're going to talk more about how the connection between lifestyle and cardiovascular disease and what kinds of things we can do for that. So wellness can be challenging, especially since it's kind of a long-term thing, right? Wellness is every day. It's not like I can give up on wellness. Every day I'm going to do something. I'm making decisions whether I like it or not. I'm making decisions about my wellness, whether it's going to be helping me or hurting me. So every day I'm making those decisions. Let's make better decisions, and especially in the cardiovascular system, okay? So join me for this. Every day I'm going to be doing another video. If I don't get a video on the day-to-day basis, by the end of the month you'll have the full program. So this month is a bit tricky for me, but I'm gonna work to get all those done. So join me here at Minke Wellness or the YouTube channel Minke Wellness, and you can catch all the videos there. Happy wellness, one day at a time.